Bitcoin will go through the halving process again in 2024. And so to explain that and what it might mean for just the entire cryptocurrency market is Ruadhan, the creator of seasonal tokens. Welcome. Great to have you back here again. And I feel like the Bitcoin halving just happened, but I guess it was 2020 and we're starting to hear talk about it again. When will it happen? What kind of impact do you think it will have?
Yeah, so it'll happen around mid 2024. It happens every 4 years. It's the same year as presidential elections and leap years and the Olympics. So what happens is that the rate of production of new Bitcoins gets cut in half. So new Bitcoins are produced every 10 minutes. There's a new Bitcoin block produced. And at the moment, there's 6.25 Bitcoins that are produced in every block. That's going to get cut in half. And what happens after a Bitcoin halving is that the amount of energy that it costs the miners to produce a new block, that stays the same, but the number of Bitcoins they get in each block gets cut in half. So it becomes unprofitable to mine for a few months after the Bitcoin halving occurs. And the reason for that is that the cost of production doubles, but the price doesn't double. It takes a while for the price to respond to the lower rate of supply.
Interesting. So how does the price typically react when this happens? How do investors react?
Yeah, there's typically a little bit of speculation around the time of the halving. There's like a little blip that you can see in the price charts from the speculation, but that doesn't have a big effect. What really affects the price is that the market gradually adjusts to the lower supply. That takes a number of months. So it's typically 4 or 5 months after a Bitcoin halving occurs that the price starts to rise in response to the halving as the market adjusts to the lower rate of supply. And when that happens, there's a kind of a bubble that forms over the following year because the price starts to rise. People don't know how far the price is going to rise, and investors kind of pile into Bitcoin to try to take advantage of the rising price, and but they don't know when it's going to stop. So they basically they keep buying even when it's overpriced. All they can see from the price chart is that prices is still going up. So you have typically a bubble that forms, and then you get to a stage when everybody in the world is apparently buying Bitcoin at the same time, and then it eventually bursts.
And then eventually, well, isn't there a mechanism in place to stop the bubble from forming?
So with seasonal tokens, which is the project that I'm working on, there is a mechanism to stop that from happening. So we have, instead of having one channel for converting kind of energy into capital, kind of converting energy into financial assets, which is what you have with Bitcoin, with seasonal tokens, we have four. There are four tokens, like spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So there are kind of four different channels that convert energy into capital in the same mechanism, proof of work mining, as Bitcoin. And only one of them gets kind of shut down by unprofitability after halving happens, because we only have one token that gets halved at a time. So when you have a system like that with multiple tokens, you can compare the price of one token to another token. For example, before the spring halving in 2022, the prices of the tokens had a ratio of 5, 6, 7, 8. So that meant that 8 spring tokens were worth 5 winter tokens. But what happened after the halving was that the prices drifted towards a ratio of 10, 6, 7, 8. And that was to reflect the rates of supply that were coming from mining. And once the prices reached this ratio of 10, 6, 7, 8, then investors knew that the price of spring wasn't going to continue trending upwards. It moved from 8 spring tokens, moved from being worth 5 winter tokens to being worth 10 winter tokens. Once that ratio had been reached, then everybody knew that the effect of the halving was over. So there wasn't an asset bubble that formed because people didn't continue to buy spring tokens expecting them to continue rising in price compared to the other tokens, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So how does that differ then when we talk about Bitcoin?
So with Bitcoin, what happens is that the price starts to rise in response to the lower supply from mining. But when investors are looking to take advantage of this, they know the price of Bitcoin is going to rise, but they don't know how far. So they start buying Bitcoin when the price starts to rise, and they continue to buy Bitcoin as long as the price continues to rise. Because then, as long as the price is rising, it seems like the effect of the halving is continuing. But it's not necessarily the lower supply from mining that's causing the price to rise. It's also an influx of new investors, and people can't distinguish between price rising because of a response to the lower supply and the price rising because of incoming investment from new investors. So what happens is that you have more and more people coming in as the price continues to rise, and that's eventually what causes the bubble.
Yeah, and Bitcoin really even continued up into 2021, but then of course 2022 is a terrible year. So is that what we saw play out recently?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what we saw play out. So it happens once every 4 years. There's basically a huge bull market in Bitcoin. It reaches a bubble and then it bursts, and then it goes into a bear market that lasts for years. And a lot of people lose money. It's kind of unfortunate that we have that happening. I guess what happened was that Bitcoin was the first kind of invention that allowed people to convert energy into currency or into financial assets. And it's the largest one, of course. It's like hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap. And there's a huge amount of energy that gets converted into financial assets every day through Bitcoin. Because it's the first one, it's a little bit clunky. You have this problem that it becomes unprofitable for a while after this halving happens, and then this asset bubble forms. And neither of those are particularly desirable. So with seasonal tokens, the hope is that it'll be a more stable channel for converting energy into capital, and we won't have the asset bubble, and you don't have the unprofitability after halving.
I see. Okay. Well, always very interesting to talk to you, Ruadhan. And thanks for telling us more about halving and its impact on the cryptocurrency market.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.